We're very bullish on the future of the television ecosystem. It's something we've clearly been focused on for a while, punctuated in many ways by our acquisition of TrueOptic. And our whole belief is that both from a streaming perspective as well as a linear TV perspective, the momentum of addressability and of more precision in the premium video world, if you will, is only going to continue to increase. And we've been looking for the right ways to be key partners on that identity underpinning that allows that to be true. And that's really what we're doing with OpenAP, which is the OpenAP ID is underpinned by TransUnion's understanding of identity. We're really the kind of the standard, the white label, if you will, underneath the hood that enables OpenAP to have an accurate identity graph, an accurate set of IDs that are also interoperable with the rest of the ecosystem. And so, our focus in many ways is to say that as each of these different players in the industry need to create an understanding of identity and be able to translate that across different platforms and have the right connection points, that someone like TransUnion can really be the provider of those services so that those businesses can focus on the products on top of that identity. And so that's really, at the end of the day, where we are with OpenAP, is helping to provide that core underpinning of an accurate view of identity, both from an individual and household perspective, and both from a linear and a digital perspective, so that cross-channel addressability can be done at scale. And that's our mission, is really help enable that kind of evolution.
So Matt, could you just explain, a little bit, for example, how the partners, the members of OpenAP can actually create identity using their first-party data, other data, how that identity graph is created? Is it the same across all of OpenAP? Is it kind of customized for individual programmers? Give us a little depth on that.
Well, the way to think about how identity graphs and really identity currencies, if you will, are used in this ecosystem is that they all have to be able to translate from one data set to another, from one identity to another. And in order to do that behind the scenes, you've got to have the right different data matching mechanisms, what people often think of as called crosswalks or other type of data matching mechanisms to maintain a translation layer from one ID set to another. What we're doing is giving OpenAP and their branded ID, the OpenAP ID, that ability. And so when they work with their network partners or their advertising partners, because it's underpinned by TransUnion's intelligence and we are connected to all these different ID sets, the ability is to start anywhere, start with a client's first-party data, start with a network's first-party data, start with a third-party available data, doesn't matter. All of that can be interconnected, matched to an OpenAP ID, and then have a common translation layer across all the different media partners that they want to use, right? That's really what this is about, which is a marketer and an agency and a network don't want to have to recreate the matching mechanisms and the targeting partner by partner by partner. There's scale that comes from the ability to use the same segment definition and the same ID space, if you will, across multiple partners. Again, in order to do that, you've got to have scale in your identity so that you can actually match and have enough addressable households or individuals, whatever the case may be. And then again, you have to have the quote Rosetta Stone, if you will, to be able to translate between those different ID spaces. Again, that used to be what none of us talked about, but was just happening under the hood for the DSPs and DMPs and SSPs based on cookies. Well, in this new world, of course, not only is it not about cookies, but it's also about understanding individuals and households. And in the TV ecosystem, it's also about being able to translate from a linear world as well as a digital and streaming world. Again, sounds maybe somewhat simple, actually some complexity under the hood there. We're really focused on wiring that up, making it possible so that companies, again, like OpenAP can work with its partners on the buy and the sell side and just transact. And so again, I guess you could think about it as we're providing the core infrastructure to make that possible.
So it's sort of a white label solution. You're kind of under the hood. Is that sort of the business model, or what are the different flavors?
Yeah, it's an interesting point and a good thing to think about, Andy, which is there's a lot of talk in the industry right now about what's going to be the currency, what's the identity that people are going to use and turn to, and we believe it's not going to be one. There'll be many. But we've also thought a lot about, is our mission to make it so that the marketplace transacts on the TransUnion ID as branded? Listen, that's interesting to us. We're not anti that, but it's also not our focus. What we realize is what the market really needs is for each of the partners they work with to have their own quote identity. And so if, for instance, the OpenAP ID, we also support the Blue ID of Horizon and others. And so, I think in many cases you won't the market won't transact on TransUnion's identity directly, or at least they won't know they are, but we'll be the quote gold standard under the hood, making that possible. And so, yeah, I think in many ways it's fair to say we'll be a white label solution as it relates to power and identity. There's clearly a lot of branded solutions we're bringing to market as well, including our data marketplace. But as it relates to creating identity currencies, we're more than happy and think it's a great role for TransUnion and great for the marketplace for us to be able to, underpin things like OpenAP and then allow them to bring the products to market and brand it in that way.